Hello, St. Lucia. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Philip Sidney, your host. Today we are discussing a very interesting project, the Southeast Coast Project. And with me is, to my immediate right, is the project manager, Mr. John Calix. And next to him is Mr. Elias Ford, who is the owner of Eastern Exotic Tours, and of course my good friend Alan Regis, who is the communications specialist for the said project. Welcome, gentlemen, to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Calix, I'll start with you, since you're according to the guy a while ago, you're the boss, so we're going to start off with you. This project has been around for a little while. I know it has some significant impact on agriculture, forestry, livelihoods in St. Lucia, agro-processing and the likes. So give us an overview of that project. What's the objective of that project?
Thank you, Mr. Sidney. I want to thank you on behalf of the team and the Southeast Coast Project and the team as well for inviting us to the program again. I think the last time we were on was about maybe 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago, yes.
So I think it's an opportune time for us to come back and let the public know the progress that we have made under the project. So as you're saying, just to give a very brief overview, the Southeast Coast Project is financed by the Global Environmental Facility, which we call GEF. It is executed by the United Nations Environment Program, which we call UNEP, but it's implemented by the Department of Sustainable Development through a project implementation unit. And we have several collaborating agencies. The Ministry of Agriculture is one, Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Fiscal Development, the Department of Energy, even the Ministry of Infrastructure, one of two of its departments. So it's a very multifaceted program, which has a number of ministries that also assist us with implementation. I forgot to mention the Ministry of Social Equity, who also are involved in the project. So the project's main objective basically is for the sustainable economic development of the Southeast Coast. But whilst we aim to develop the Southeast Coast, we want to ensure that we have healthy ecosystems and sustainable livelihoods for global environmental benefits. The project area is from Dennery, Mandalay Point in Dennery, to Lavery on the west coast, more or less. And there are three major components that we use to implement the program and to achieve our objectives. The first one is establishing a management information systems, because we are assessing a number of ecosystems. We're doing a number of studies in the Southeast Coast and tourism, etc. So we need to collect all the information that we have under these studies. So in that information system, people like yourselves, the general public, the community residents, the decision makers, the different ministries will have access to all the information that we have gathered under the project. The second component is what we call rehabilitation and replanting of degraded forest areas, coastal areas, and mangroves as well. And the third component, which is very exciting, is the sustainable livelihoods component, where through the tourism sector, the green economy, the blue economy, so agriculture, the blue economy, the farmers and seamoss, the fishermen and seamoss farmers, and just general agriculture. We try to identify economic opportunities for our residents in the Southeast Coast and facilitate them getting access to these opportunities, and therefore generate incomes and livelihoods for people in the Southeast Coast. So far, we've been able to, through agriculture, work with a lot of the farmers in terms of training activities. We have been able to help them to understand what is agroforestry and utilize agroforestry. So to do that, we have built a nursery at the Freeford Secondary School. It is staffed by 7 workers, and they provide the planting material for the replanting, rehabilitation of the degraded forest areas, and also for the agroforestry component. They've been involved in training of our farmers and seamoss farmers, training in things like climate smart agriculture and things like pruning, soil erosion abatement, and several other areas that the farmers have been able to benefit from these training areas. We've also been able to identify equipment for CMOS farmers, for agri-processors, for people who are involved in hydroponics. So again, these are benefits coming out of the program. In other areas like tourism, we've been able to undertake our first what we call source of exchange program, and we will explain it today on the program. And we've been working with the Library Foundation and residents of Library to re-establish what we call the Library Village Historic Experience Store. So there are quite a number of activities, and I think we can go through them as we speak today on the program, so the public can understand what we do in this office.
That's a lot. And what's the duration of the project?
The duration was 5 years, but because we started 1 year late and there was COVID-19, we got an extension for 2.5 years. So we actually end the program in August 2026, August next year.
Wow. So your collaborants, I know the forestry department, what have you achieved? That's why I know you said about the nursery. How many acres have you all replanted during that period?
Okay, in terms of the replanting exercise, we have replanted approximately 700 hectares of degraded just forest areas. In terms of agroforestry, so far our figures show we have been able to do about 230 hectares. And we are supposed to be working with the National Trust with the rehabilitation of the Marketing Mangrove and the other mangroves.
Good. Mr. Regis, as an old head forestry and having such, experience, with you on that project and as the communication officer, what's your role in ensuring that that project meets its objectives?
Okay. Well, thank you very much again for the opportunity to be here. So the communications from my vantage point is really in two parts. It's one, in ensuring that St. Lucia and the world knows what's happening within the project, right? So all of the things that Mr. Kalik just articulated is one thing. The other thing is ensuring that persons understand the value of the biodiversity that we want to conserve. So as you know, remember back in the day with the Jaco and all of those sorts of things, how we really did something that around the world, which we consider head, hearts, and hands, the 3 H's. And what that is giving the people the information that they need, and then to be able to transform their attitudes towards it, and then changing behavior. So what we're doing with the South East Coast project is that we recently started putting together a strategy with deadlines that will ensure that the average St. Lucian, not just the high schoolers and so on, tout le monde, because as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about ecosystems, biodiversity, and all of those sorts of things, if the average person does not understand what it is that you're selling, you will fail. So it is my responsibility to work in the project, to all of the things that I said, Mr. Kalik just said, to look at the best of the science, the whatever it is, and to be able to translate it and identify the avenues through which we can affect persons' heads, hearts, and hands to do things. So that really and truly is my role in trying to help carve that as we move along. What
vehicles have you used to ensure that the St. Lucians have gotten that information and it has transformed lives? Right. So we do we will be doing a lot of monitoring and evaluation, work. So we need to be able to go out. It's not just putting out stuff there. There was a time in this field where awareness was everything. We understand that awareness is one thing, but behavior change is something else. Yes. So we need to track that. In my field, we've been using entertainment education for a long time. Because what are the things that have you bobbing your head when you're going home from work? What are the things that you listen to? Where do you go to church? Who do you listen to? And what form does it take? So we use a lot of entertainment education in ensuring that we do not just put things out there. And we've seen it work in so many projects around the world where we've adopted entertainment education. The following that the social media influencers have, Mr. Calix and I, we dream we would have so many people following us and liking all of the things that we do. So we need to partner with those people. We need to bring those people on board. We need to work with the top class musicians, and I don't necessarily mean jazz musicians. I'm talking about the Denry segment artists. We need to be able to reach people where they are
And so the tools that we are going to engage have to be able to get people to know that mabuya that I hear in there every night, boy, I don't think I need to kill all of them.
Yes.
I'm just using this as an example.
Yes.
So we need to transform a lot of the basic things, some of the things that we take for granted, into a form that people can understand and appreciate for the benefit of St. Lucia and the biodiversity. I mean, this project is here for a reason. It is because we understand the biodiversity we have in this part of the island, but also for St. Lucia. Now, although Mr. Calix mentioned that the project is for Denry to Labrie, but we're looking at nationally, everybody needs to understand the value of the things that we have there, because they can move from, there's nothing telling the St. Lucia thrasher, which is an endemic bird that is found mostly in that area. There's nothing that says to it, you cannot go to Castries, or you can't go to Gros-Islet. They can move wherever. So all of St. Lucia needs to understand those sorts of things. So that is the role that
what comes to mind? I'm sure you were there at the time. Jaco.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the song?
Yes.
I penned that song.
Of course, I remember.
A crying environment.
Jaco
Jaco.
Yes.
And that went far.
Absolutely.
That went far. So I'm happy to hear, the various medium.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to it was people like you that made it happen. I mean, the whole Jaco movement, if you will, started here, went over to the Caribbean, and do you know it became the first Western program that was actually taught by Ray and accepted at a university in China.
Wow. And
started right here in St. Lucia through the efforts of the forestry department and so on. So, I mean, we have some beautiful things that have happened here.
The ecosystem, I'm sure, is benefiting, as mentioned, and I'm sure, you, Mr. Ford, tell us how you got to know about that project and how you got involved.
Well, as a business owner, Mr. Regis and his team saw the potential of what I was doing and thought there was a need to include me in the program, more specifically the South East Coast Exchange. And I would say before being part of this program, I paid very little attention to biodiversity and conservation and all of that. And having been part of the team that went to Barbados, that's the last trip, I learned a lot, and as he stated, Mr. Regis, that is, his job as a communication specialist to be able to transform people like me to understand, or help people like me to understand the importance of biodiversity and everything that comes around that. That trip really imparted on me and showed me and opened my understanding to a lot of that. Okay. And one of the things I actually took away from all of that is conservation. Okay. I understood that very, very clearly, and I must say I was happy to.
So what exactly do you do?
I'm into tours, ATV tours, and obviously we into the environment as well, conserving, making sure that we take care of our end of the environment and so on. So for me, it really assisted me in understanding how I should play my part as a business owner and somebody who's into tours, that I play my part in conserving and preserving our history, our heritage, the land and everything, and all of that.
Very good,
yes.
Very wow, interesting. Yeah. But tell us about that Tour de Barbados.
Okay, that's part of the program on the sustainable livelihoods that we call the South of Exchange. And how did that come about and what it is? When we did our responsible tourism study, we looked to first of all develop a strategy for the Southeast Coast project in terms of tourism development. And it's actually called Dare to be Different. Okay. Right? So that development is different from how tourism developed on the West Coast and up north as well. So more a low-key, more low development type activity, and the nature and the conservation of our biodiversity as being the main focus. So one of the things we also looked at was, are there any countries in the region that have good tourism practices, sustainable tourism practices, good norms, good infrastructure, good heritage tourism or adventure tourism, any sector of the tourism product. Because we are like a pristine tourism developing area in St. Lucia, can we go to these countries and learn from them, learn these best practices, learn their marketing strategies, what types of products do they have, how do they market these products, how do they conserve their biodiversity that could be used or replicated back in St. Lucia. So 4 countries were identified. It was Barbados, Dominica, Jamaica, and Costa Rica. Now the reasons for these 4 countries, Barbados was more eco-heritage, Dominica eco-adventure, and Jamaica and the Bahamas. Well, Jamaica was community tourism, and Costa Rica was what we call education, eco-education more or less. So because we were doing some work in Labrie, the Labrie village, to re-establish the tour in Labrie, we thought it'd be prudent to go first to Barbados as a test to see how it's going to work. So we went to Barbados looking at the eco-heritage. But in planning the logistics for the tour, we saw Barbados had a lot more than just eco-heritage. There were adventure tourism type tours, there was kayaking, there's even ATV tours in Barbados as well. So there's a lot more, there's sustainable tourism, there was farm to table type activities there. So we said, hey, Barbados is just next door, and although they focus on sun, sea, and sun, they're also doing other things. So let's go to see what they were doing. So through the Barbados Ministry of Tourism in Barbados, we went to Barbados with a team. Where the 3 of us here, and the 3 ladies were not able to be here today. Okay. So there's 1 lady from the Community Tourism Agency. So we also partnered with them as part of the South East Coast Project on the tourism. So she was there. There was Marva, who is an entrepreneur with the kayaking, and there was Carla from Labrie, who was involved in the Labrie Foundation, Cultural Development Foundation as well. And she was also part of the team that looked into developing the tour in Labrie. So we thought it was a good team, all-rounded, and that could, identify and what is important from the sites that we visited that we could take back to St. Lucia, and implement these newfound strategies for developing the tourism product in the South East Coast. So that was the nature and the genesis of the South Exchange.
I'm hearing so many things keep going through my mind. Because really I'm seeing a marriage of a potpourri of agriculture, agro-processing, the whole works. In fact, he's into ATV, right? The people he has in Musik, right? Okay?
Yes.
So our indigenous foods can be prepared, right? Our agro-processing can also be sold to them. So there's a potpourri, but give us some success stories. Apart from him, give us some success stories.
From the project?
From the project.
Well, we've had one of the things that we've had from the very beginning was a coalition. So we don't believe in just doing things ourselves. We like to engage persons. So we've put together a coalition of persons from the communities, spread out, right? So you may have a representative from village council, or you may have a representative from the agro-processors, and just different persons of interest around the community. And that is a good thing, because they're the ones, we need to use them to test everything. Because as you can imagine, there are a lot of things that need to go out. So we need to engage them. They are the eyes and ears at the community level. Yes. Yeah, so they will tell us, yes, that makes sense, or no, you need to go back to the drawing board with everything. So I think that's one of the things that we have. We've also had a very good set of persons from the various entities that you mentioned, forestry, fisheries, and so on. So we will be going together as a team. We don't go by ourselves. Yes. So when we go to the schools, like if you remember back in the day when we did Jaco, we went and we had fisheries and forestry. It was the 2 of us. I remember Andre Santoma and myself and Anita James and Cassian Henry, and we would go to the schools. Yes. So now we have a bigger team. And even on our team, in addition to groups like fisheries, forestry, we also have like WASCO, to get persons to understand the value of the rainforest, where your water comes from, so that when people turn on the tap, they don't just think, oh, it's Wasco's problem, but they understand the fundamentals behind it. So St. Lucia has had a lot of wonderful success stories, if you will, about changing attitudes and behaviors, but I think for the South East Coast Project, from the things that we have done so far, we've seen some really, really, really wonderful things. But we have a lot more things to come. We need to look at how do we engage the youth. deeper. How do we engage the farmers? How do we engage the business persons? How do we engage everybody? So we will be really trying to reach out to St. Lucia to let them know what's happening with the South East Coast Project. But also we need, at the end of the day, to get persons to understand the value of the biodiversity that we have, which is rich not just for us, but for the world.
One of the things that I know, you have said it earlier with the forestry department, is the agro-tourism kind of thing, in terms of the various tree crops that you're planting. One of these are just, just forestries. And it doesn't have the economic benefit as such, right? So right now you think you'll have mangoes, citrus
fruits, cocoa.
And that has worked.
Yes, and in fact, that is one of the other good and positive activities under the project. When we started the agroforestry component, a lot of the farmers didn't understand, what is agroforestry. Talk about agro and then forestry. What is that? So what we did was we actually brought them to a farm in Dennery actually, and in Beauchamp, where we actually showed them what the agroforestry is. It's basically a blend of your forestries with your tree crops, as you just mentioned. And they were very excited actually talking to the farmers, about the whole agroforestry initiative. And a lot of them now are asking every single day, where can they get the plants, the citrus fruits, the cocoa trees. And so there's a lot more interest now in agroforestry. And I'm sure between now and the end of the year, or by the end of the project, we'll see a lot more farmers become interested in agroforestry. So that's one of the other positives of the project. One of the other things that we also did under the project was to identify renewable energy technologies or systems for some of our agro-processors involved in the project. So we went through and did a survey and assessment, and they've identified some of the priority businesses. One of them is the Azure facility, because we have the Rural Women's Group, we have the cassava folks there, and also the chocolate making people there. So the facility will get the renewable energy systems there. The Paped and Library is stated to have 3 units that will be going towards the training, the training areas for crafters. And also some lighting for the area for evening type activities there. So that's another area that was very useful, and also very important to us, the honey beekeepers. What we did that's one of our first activities with the honey, the beekeepers. We trained the extension officers in the livestock department, who was responsible for beekeeping, together with about 30 new beekeepers, together with intermediate and the professional, the more seasoned beekeepers. And the plan was for the new beekeepers, attach them to, those who have been involved before as apprentices, and to see how, they develop the sector. So these are just some of the areas that, we have been involved in that are, exciting. I think the tree nursery is one. So the tree nursery is at the Vieux-Fort Secondary School. And the plan is to involve the school in the whole operations of the nursery. So in mathematics, the kids can learn, what formula can we use to determine the height of a tree after a week or 2 weeks or a month. All right, how do we market, the trees or products? All right, how do we estimate the cost of doing all of these activities and the revenue generated from it? So it's not just a nursery at the school, but how can the kids learn from
the
it?
components.
Right. And also they learn also about the conservation and preservation of the biodiversity, because these plants are being used to do these activities. So they learn that, farmers come in to collect the plants, replant the properties, and then, conserve the biodiversity.
In fact, we just concluded a discussion with forestry as far as World Water Day and also International Day of Forest, and what they mentioned, the collaboration that they have with you, and that says a lot. Mr. Ford, moving forward, any exciting things to look forward from your end?
there's always lots of exciting things to look for on my end. Because one of the tours that my company offers, which is the Irie Valley Ride, it is really a community tour. The community tour where we incorporate the cassava making and farine making. So the tour really is not heavily focused on riding an ATV, but about the experiences and selling what the Mabuya Valley has to offer. A little bit of history, the culture, the things that make up the Mabuya Valley. There we go. That's the word, exotic. So we have the farine and cassava making, so we take the guests to the farine and cassava making, the platin, as the locals call it. There is a lot of history about the banana industry. We talk about the green gold era, and that is something that because of my trip to Barbados, again, conservation, and not just conservation when it comes to plants and food or the environment, but conservation where knowledge is consumed, conservation of your history, conservation of your culture, and that really stuck with me. So moving forward into Eastern Exotic ATV Tours, I have incorporated a lot of that into my tour. So this is the exciting thing for me, being able to promote or talk about the history of bananas. When we were in the green gold era, when banana started, how much banana we were sending over to the UK and so on, when our farmers were the rich men of St. Lucia. So we talk about that. So and a lot more. We even talk about the solo, and which is also a very strong pillar, something that you will find in the Mabuya Valley, more specifically Olio. Yes. You understand? So these are some of the experiences that we tie to the tours, and these are the exciting elements of our tours. And I must again give kudos to the Mr. Calix and Mr. Regis, the South East Coast Exchange, for allowing me to be part of that trip, so I could have understand the importance of conservation, the importance of being able to package this properly and be able to present it or sell it or just put it to the public.
In your packaging and selling out, don't forget Vels Enterprise. Vels Wines.
Yes.
This is dominant in the,
yes.
you know, and of course you mentioned the solo, and of course graduating into the Denry segment. You know, so. It just encompass all of this, and I'm sure that will take you, to where you want to be. Right. Regis, moving forward, what's your foresight?
Okay.
Because that sounds very exciting, man.
Yes. Well, for two things. For one, I living in the project site, living in Denry, one of the things about this project that I love is that it's still listening to what it is that can be done to improve the lives of the people and so on and so forth. The other thing is that from Barbados especially, and one of the things I'm hoping to see happen here, and we saw that a lot happen in Barbados, where the average citizen was an ambassador for the products that they sell. What I mean is that the persons who live around Harrison's Cave, whether you talk about the people who are close by or the guys who are working cleaning the drains or what have you, they were ambassadors for that product. Wow. They were, right? So I would love to be able to see that when you show up to near his home, and you're asking about the ATV thing, where is that? And people know immediately. And people want to promote that. Exactly. It's the same thing for the Denry fish fry when that comes back. We are hoping that the whole village can become ambassadors. And so what I am hoping, and as I segue into this, is for St. Lucia, all of St. Lucia to be ambassadors for the ecosystems that we have, that we recognize that need to be protected, to be conserved, not all protected, but conserved. And so on. So over the next few months, expect to see the media engagements, expect to see the traditional media engagements, social media engagements, expect to have some fun things.
And billboards,
yes, because we have some very interesting things. Now what used to be at the St. Lucia, the white-breasted thrasher, was now renamed as the St. Lucia thrasher. And you can only find that around in the Southeast Coast area. So we have some really exciting things to come. But we also want to hear back from people. St. Lucians sometimes keep quiet at the times when they really need to speak up. So, we want persons to bond with what it is that makes us uniquely St. Lucian, that we're very proud of.
Very good.
And then we will, but we have some good things coming.
Well said. Gentlemen, we have come to the end of the program.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for being here. Mr. Callis, thank you.
Thank you.
And I know, I'm looking forward for good things, as Mr. Regis said. Mr. Ford, thank you. I need you to continue. And now I didn't know of you, so now I know. So you'll see, you'll hear more of me.
Yes.
All right, and my team. Mr. Regis, thanks again for being here, and I wish your success. And anywhere again we can help,
Absolutely.
from the minister standpoint, we'll be there.
Appreciate
You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing the program. And remember, agriculture is our business. Eat fresh. St. Lucia's best. Go to Mr. Ford's store, and you'll get the good experience of St. Lucia. I'm Philip Sidney saying goodbye, and see you again.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
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 St. Lucian Creole. Morgan Delphinis is a distinguished educator and consultant with over 40 years of expertise spanning all levels of education, including teacher training,